After a lot of good comments on my lessons learned video, I thought I'd follow it on with a guide about how to install FPV video in a TBS Discovery with 2 cameras and the DJI iOSD. Okay, so this is the finished product with all the components and wiring in place. It's a bit of a cable jungle. It's going to make it a little bit difficult to talk through, but I'll try and go through step by step. So we've got the 3 main NASA components, the NASA M, the PMU that comes with the new version 2, and this box of tricks is the iOSD, all hooked up in the standard configuration. Added to that, I'm using the standard TBS high quality CCD camera, a second Sony based CCD camera, and Fat Shark wireless transmitter. And I've also installed one of these little blingy LED lights for front facing white and rear facing red lights. It's kind of nice to customise the copter, but to be honest it kind of messes up the insides with more wires, unfortunately. So what can I tell you about voltages? Well, you know, the battery is supplying 16 to 14 volts. The TBS core, which has been a bit of a nightmare to be honest, is regulating down to 12 on this side and 5 on that side. The TBS high quality cam wants 12 volts. The little Sony secondary camera wants 5 volts. The wireless transmitter wants 12 volts. My LED wants 5 volts. I've also got a little microphone in the back there. Again, that wants 5 volts. And the rest of the NASA gear actually plugs right onto the main board, which is direct from the battery, so it can handle anything I think between 11 and 25 volts. So video signal wise, mostly on the yellow cables, we have the signal coming from the TBS camera into the TBS Discovery white connector there, a little bit hidden, which runs it through in the circuit board to the left side connector. And you can see here I'm taking a feed off which runs up into the iOSD AV1. Similarly, I have my video signal coming from the secondary camera running by normal cable going into the AV2. The other 2 cables for the power and ground I'm not using, but that will supply whatever voltage the battery is supplying, so 16 volts at full charge. So the iOSD is taking its 2 raw video signals in, it overlays it with data supplied from the NASA, and then it spits it out of this video out cable. I'm only using the yellow cable that goes directly into the video transmitter. The rest of the cables for other functions, I'm not actually going to use it, so I'll just tape them off. And microphone wise, I have the white signal cable coming into the right side connector, which goes through the circuit board, pops out on the left side, and that goes directly into the video transmitter. Notice the iOSD is doing nothing about audio, that is essentially running direct to the transmitter. And finally we have the controller cable, which connects directly to the radio controller receiver, and that allows you to switch between the 2 video modes. So radio controller wise, we've got the S-bus connector which is plugged in to the NASA, and we have this S-port from the iOSD into the 2 underside pins on the normal TBS Discovery board. And on the radio controller receiver we have the S-bus port going into the bottom there, and my direct iOSD connection is coming into channel 6. If you've watched the DJI video, you'll see they give an example of port 5. I tried that and pulled my hair out for about 30 minutes, could not get it to work. I switched it onto channel 6 and it worked instantly, so I've clearly got some conflict there, but it's worth playing around if it's not doing the video switching. One very important thing to note about these quadcopter CCD cameras is you kind of relying on the supplier to set the default focus. They have to be manually focused with this thread mechanism, so you can unscrew these retaining bolts and twist it left or right, and it will adjust the focus. You're only going to be able to see that when you get it hooked up to the screen or the goggles. So give it a go. I think between these two cameras they've got different kind of focal lengths and apertures or whatever, so it does come down to sort of personal flying preference, how far into the distance you want to focus. Obviously it's going to be different when you're looking on a screen and staring right into it. That's probably not the right place to be focusing, so I think on TBS they give you some guidance on, you know, how to focus into the distance so that you've got a nice crisp image when you're flying. And another important point about the FPV goggles, I flew it for ages in a very unusual flying mode with horrible vision, not realising that this little rocker switch on the top is controlling the brightness and contrast. I don't know how I did it. I didn't, as usual, read the manual, but just be aware that this guy makes a world of difference to what you see in your little low resolution image screens. And a quick word about configuring the radio controller. I've got the Futaba 8FG, which is exactly the same as they have on the DJI videos, and you can follow their instructions, which are very good. But just to show quickly, if you go into the menu, down to function, scroll down to the channel that you want, and if you remember, I've plugged mine into channel 6. And in this case I've set it to the SC3 rocker switch on the top. And we come out of there, and they want you to make sure you've set your endpoints for the switches, and again you can see the channel 6 is 1 through 5 100 in that configuration. And that's all that's needed. As I say, if you're having problems, it might be a channel conflict. To change the video channel, you start in the central position, as they call it, position 2, you go down to position 3 and back again, and that switches the video, and same to switch back. In my case, because I'm not using a DJI video transmitter, the channel change function does nothing and doesn't display what channel it's on in the iOSD overlay. So if we connect it all up, turn the monitor on, plug in the power, there we have video signal number 1, and then we can switch to video signal number 2, which is looking down. This around. Pretty good, happy with that. So that's all from me. I hope that's been useful. Pretty impressed with the two camera switching setup. It's a pity it wasn't a little bit more plug and play. But I think that's what comes from mixing and matching vendors and, you know, the general Team Black Sheep way they want you to do it. I think if you want it to be easier than that, then I'd recommend going down the full DJI setup and buying all their components, which I think makes it easier cabling wise. Anyway, feel free to put comments below if anything needs further clarification, and see you next time.